friends, thanks for joining me today. Today I am doing video number 2 of Jovi and Tanya's paper making collaboration. And I'm laughing because I can't remember if that's the name we chose for the collab, but whatever it is, it's on the thumbnail. More importantly is thank you for being here. So today I'm going to show you some things that I made with the paper that I made. I made 2 batches of paper, and one was like just other scrapbook paper and scraps that I had, a sheet of newspaper, and I think that was it. I think so. And then the second batch that I made, I soaked in coffee water, and I also used some really old dark brown book pages because I wanted the paper to have a deeper, richer look. So I'm going to share, I shared some of that in the first video, but in today's video, I'm going to show you all of the papers so that you can see them. And then I'm going to show you what I made with them. And I'm also going to share with you what I learned between my first batch and my second batch, because I did some experimenting. The first one, I just really wanted to focus on doing it right. And the second one, I experimented with adding more pulp and making the paper thicker. And so I want to share with you what happens when you make the paper thicker as opposed to making the paper thin. Some of the paper I made is super thin. It's like tissue, and I love it. It's so delightful. But then some of the paper I made in the second batch is much, much thicker. And there is a difference of, obviously there's a difference, but there's a difference of what you can and cannot do with them when they're thick. So let's get into it. I can't wait for you to see my projects. Oh, and here I am chatting about, but I didn't mention that this is a collaboration with my friend Tanya of Side Gig Crafts. So please go check out her videos as well. Check out last week's video if you haven't already and see how she made paper. Maybe it's very different from the way I did. And then be sure to check out what she made with her paper. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see. Welcome to Jovi and Tanya's Handmade Paper Collab. I did 2 different paper making sessions, and I wanted to share with you the difference in the paper real quick. You might remember week 1, I had white, pink, and blue. And I did some of that in each size. So let me show you. Here's the smallest one. So as mentioned in the first video, I bought a set of molds, and they come in 4 different sizes. So this was all from week 1, these particular sheets. And I'm super happy with how they turned out. In the blue, there is some very fine glitter, and I just mixed it in there, and it's really nice. I know that you probably can't see it on camera. You can see this big one here, but probably hard to see, but I can see it in person, and it looks lovely. Now, another thing I wanted to share with you, really important for me to share, is on the first go round, I was able to make them thin. And you can see this is like tissue. Look how thin it is. I mean, it's almost like tissue paper. And yet it's not really fragile, you know? I mean, it's just only as fragile as other thin paper would be. And so I really like that I was able to do that. When I was when I was trying to take this one off, it folded over when it was wet, and you can't really separate it after that. So I'm going to leave it like that, and I'll just make something, maybe clusters or something out of this particular piece. So I wanted to show you that some of them came out really fine, and then some are just a little bit thicker. Let me pick one here. Still a little bit thicker, but still very bendable. And you'll see why I'm sharing that with you when I get to my second batch. Now, the other thing I did was I pressed them out on this tablecloth that had a design on it. So some of them got, what do we call that? Embossed? Is that what we call it? And I think so. And so that's kind of cool. And I purposely put it like right down the center just so I could see if that would work. When I made my first batch, it was the first time I had ever made handmade paper. And it was a lot of fun, and I wanted to share that with you so that you could experiment along with me. Here's another really thin one. Now this one, when I was spreading the stuff in the mold, I missed a spot. So that one's got just a little tiny hole. And these are just things, I feel like paper making is one of those things that you really learn as you go. And it's a lot of fun because of that. But these turned out great, right? So love them. All right, my friends, so now I wanted to talk to you about the second batch of papers that I made. And I added some coffee to the water to give it a darker, richer color. And let me grab one of the other ones so that you can compare it. So this is no dye, no color, no nothing. And if we sit that down and then compare it to this, you can see what a big difference that is, right? So a couple of the things that I wanted to share with you, and I'm showing you only the small pieces. I actually have 8.5 by 11s as well, but I figured I would show you these at first, and I'll show you the other ones in a few minutes because there's a couple of things I want to share with you about them. So on these, I did some spritzing, and actually Andrew helped, which was great. He did some spritzing for me, and when we did it, when the paper was in the mold as the water was dripping out of the mold, it spread really nicely. And then there's a few where it, for whatever reason, caught really tight, but I don't know if you can tell, but a little bit soaked through the back, which is pretty cool. So I wanted to share that. We did some spritzing, and then I want to show you this one for an example. You can see, even if I flip it over, you can see there's a pinkish hue to this one, and that's because I put a little bit of the pink tie-dye on my sponge and pressed it down, and it distributed that lightly, but it distributed it this way. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then the other thing I did, hold on, let me make sure there's nothing in here that's gonna remind me of something that I did that I wanted to share with you. Do you want to talk about thickness versus thin? And so we'll do that with these. The second batch, I really wanted to experiment because I was much more comfortable with the process. The first time I had made them was the first time. And then this was my second time. And so this time, since it was my second time and I felt like I had the swing of it, I wanted to try some different things. And one of the things I tried was really packing the paper densely. And this is one of the ones that I would say, I mean, you can see how thick that is, right? And so I feel like this is not going to be able to bend without breaking. We're going to try this together right now. Let's see what happens. All right, well, it bent, but there is, okay, it did bend, and it didn't totally break, but you can see there's some tears here. So if you want to use your handmade papers in a journal, technically I could with this one, but I don't like that there's just a few pieces popping up. So thinner is better. Like even this is not well, it is quite a bit thinner, but I was going to say it's not that much thinner. Here, let me see. I don't have enough light on this other side of the room. It's cloudy here today. Okay, so for the purposes of being able to show this to you, I want to see if I can get rid of the shadows. There we go. Okay, so you can see the one is really thick, and then you can see this one, I'll put it down, is definitely not as thick. And technically, that should bend. Yeah, look at that. It bends much more easy. Now, not as easy as these ones. I mean, these are like the tissue. I mean, they just bend no problem. So the thinner you go, the easier they bend. All right, so I wanted to share that with you. Oh, and then I'm gonna flip through these real quick as I tell you another thing that I did. So you can see this one. This is the perfect example. This is one of the ones that had the coffee water. All of these were made with old books that had already some natural age to them, so they were already yellowed. This is what it looks like without anything else in it or on it, whether it be sprayed or whatever. Then I took some I want to remember what it's called. It's a kind of a paint. Tempera paint, I believe is what it's called. And I had brown. And so I poured a bunch of it in the blender with the paper pulp, mixed it in there, and that's when we started to get some richer colors, okay? So probably this is one of them that had that in there. Oh my gosh, yes, I wanted to show this to you. Okay, this is one of my favorite ones. This was so cool. So we took the pulp and we put it down on top of a heart die cut. Die cut? No. Not a die cut, but a stencil. And then I went through the back and I put some pink on it, and then I pressed it down with the sponge, as you know, is part of the process. And it seeped through and somehow captured where the die cut was. I wish I would have done 15 of these in that same way. But this is all part of experimenting and learning. And now I know that that can be done, so I'll definitely be doing that again in the future. Didn't that come out fantastic? Here's what I wanted to share with you. So super excited. So these I also put on stencils. And I'm hoping, if you look, yeah, here, let me hold it like this. If you look here, you can see two birds, a branch, and then branches and leaves all the way across. And we did a little spritzer of pink on there, and then this is the back. So the stencils look really, really pretty. This one, the bird is, he's here, his wings are here, his tail is here, and then there's leaves on the page. Again, not sure if you can see it. Let me get it up close that maybe you can see it. And this got a little spritz of pink. Now this one, hold on, it's upside down. Bear with me just a second. This one's pretty thick. Okay, this one I think I'll probably turn into an art piece because it is so thick. And that was what I wanted to experiment with, so I'm fine with it because that's what I wanted to try. So this one is a hummingbird, and this is his beak and his head and his feathers, and then these are all pretty flowers. I'm gonna hold that up close for you now so that you can see there's the flowers. Here's his head and beak right here. Didn't that come out great with the stencil? So I have some ideas about maybe using some ink to sort of like, you know, when you you can go to a gravestone and take paper and pencil and do like that. Well, you can do sort of a similar thing on these so that you're not coloring the whole thing, you're just coloring the stenciled part. And then here's another one. I'm gonna hold this one up close. So you should be able to see the bird here and flowers here, more bird, that's like the rest of him, and then flowers and leaves down here. All right, here's an, oh, here we go. Here's another one. Now this one got sprayed a little too close with the purple spray, so I'm not really happy with that, but maybe once I add more color to it, I can probably even that out and turn it into something special. Now, let's go ahead and make something. Since this one is what I would call sort of a fail, just because of our splotches of ink, I say let's work with this one and see if we can turn it into something nice. I'm gonna come in with my marker, and I'm just gonna start by coloring the leaves. Okay, so I can see this is gonna be really, really dark, so I will not do all of the leaves in this shade green, just some of them. So that's the first thing I'll do, is I'll go around and do some of the leaves, and then I'll pick a lighter color green to do more of them. Now I'm gonna see first, before I do more leaves, I'm gonna see what happens if I use this bronze and see if I can use that for the wood. Let's see how that looks. I'll start up here, so if I don't like it, I can just go back in with something else. Well, I actually like the tone of brown that it is, but it's interesting to me because it doesn't really show up as bronze. Well, actually, now that it's drying, it is. So that's very interesting to me. Wow, okay, I like that. All right, I like how that turned out. I'm gonna try silver, try this metallic on the bird cage. I wonder if I should do silver or blue, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with the silver. Let's see what happens. I like that the paper isn't really bleeding. I think that's really cool. You know, sometimes when you use markers on paper, it does bleed, but it is not doing that in this case. My friends, I have this mostly colored in. I still would like to sort of blend the purple in if I can. I think it looks better, but I'd like to see if I can do more. So what I did was I grabbed my ink brushes here and daubers and my inks, and I thought maybe we can go in and switch some things up. Now I'm looking specifically for my blue ink. It might be this one. It may be too bright. I really wish I had like a sky blue, but I don't. But before we get into that, I think I'd like to just experiment with the brown. I don't know, and we'll experiment over here because it's not going to affect anything. I wonder if brown ink could possibly cover some of the purple. So let's find out. Do it over here on the edge and just see. This does have a little bit of residual gold on it. I don't know if that's making it darker or what. So let me go over here and do this. I'll darken up this corner. Yeah, I don't think it really changed the purple. I think you'd probably agree with me on that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this color and we're just gonna go around the edges. Okay, we've gone around the edges. I think that adds an interesting detail. Now we're gonna just have to play with this blue and see what we can do. And I actually have, do I have purple? I do have purple. I have purple if we think somehow that could be helpful. So I'm gonna get it out, get it ready for us just in case. I've got it here, but I wanna start, and I wanna go in with the blue just a little bit, just to see what happens. And what I'll do is I'll hit maybe, you know what I'll do is I'll hit this corner down here just to see how dark it is and if it looks too ridiculous. All right, no, that's gonna go on nice. I think that's gonna be okay. So that's what I'd like to do here and there. I'll even go inside of the bird cage. So the hope is that the blue looks, it represents the sky, I guess is what I'm trying to do here. Okay, let's flip this back over. Okay. Oh, now I just got an idea. I was thinking to myself, gosh, you know, the purple is still so deep. It's so deep, and it is. So, you know, I always keep some sandpaper handy, and I think let's go ahead. Let's see if I'm going to do this one because it's farther away from everything. Let's see what happens. If I can scuff a little bit of the surface off of this. Now, the purple probably does go all the way through. Matter of fact, I'm sure it does. Yeah, it goes all the way through. So I don't know that this is going to be helpful or not. You see, even the green went through. That's funny. I didn't expect that. But let's go ahead. Let's just see maybe what happens if I just do a little bit of a light, very light sanding. Yep, that is purple through and through, but let me wipe this away. Do we think it helped? You know, it might have helped a little bit. I feel like it's made it a little bit lighter, not as much on this one. So here's what we're gonna do. Great experiment, I love that. I love to experiment with things and see what happens when we do this, that, or the other. But now I think it's gonna be important for us to go in with the purple and spread it out further, just to make this look more intentional. Let's see what happens. I think it's always safe to start in the corner, so that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so we've got it. Everything looks really dark. Now I think we need to come in with a little bit of gold, and let's lighten some of this up. I'm gonna start with the tree, see what I can do here. This is gilding paste, just so you guys know. And I'm just dipping my little brush in it, which isn't the best for the brush. So if you do that, make sure you clean your brush, because gilding paste is pretty rich. It's thick, you know. Okay, I like that. It brings it up a level, which is nice. What do you guys think of that? Can you see it? I think you can see it. So I think I'd like to go around the edges with it, or like at least the corners. That's step one of bringing the lighter colors back in, or just bringing some dimension and shine to it. All right, my friends, we're gonna see what we can do with a little bit of Mod Podge here and there. We're gonna test it like right here on the branch. I didn't mean to say Mod Podge. I'm going to use Mod Podge, but what we're going to test out here is using some gold leaf. And I'll probably have to use a lot of Mod Podge simply because the paper's really thick and it's going to absorb it. But I'm pressing this one, well, I think I'm pressing this one down into it. I'm new at using the gold leaf, so, well, I used to use it when I did nails, and we would use the clear nail polish to tack it down, and that worked great. Don't know if I have any on hand, because that would probably work on here too, actually. But this seems to be working, so we'll go ahead and continue to do this. Add some spark of color here, I think will be nice. And then I'm thinking what I'll do is add some stickles. So if you don't know about gold leaf, just push it down, and then later on we will go back and brush whatever is sticking up, just brush it off, and then whatever is left is what's left. I'm going to go ahead and do a little strip of it right here. All right, my friends, so what we have here is a hot mess, but that's okay, it's temporary. So I added some silver and gold leaf, and I also added some bronze leaf, just to add some like spots and background and stuff like that. Now that's gonna take a bit to dry, so while that's drying, I'm gonna go in with some stickles, and I'm gonna put green on the leaves. I'll do maybe some additional gold on the branches. I'll definitely do some on these flowers here, probably on the bird cage. And then, once everything is dry and I can brush off the leafing, we're gonna see what we have. All right, so that's basically it. Just kind of going on, putting a line, it'll spread itself, so I don't need to worry about that. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'll be back when everything's dry. I think it would be nice to put a flower right here, because this is just kind of, So if we put a flower, and that's like the background of the flower, I think that would look nice. I'm gonna grab one and tell me, well, you can't tell me if you like it, but I'm gonna grab one or two or three, and we'll see what we can come up with. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm thinking I'll play a little bit and introduce some flowers onto the piece here and see what we can come up with. So this already is a purple flower, and what if we went over top of it with that? It's kind of dark actually. Let me try a light one on over here. Interesting. Let me try a pink one. See, now that's cute. I like that. So let's try like this one over here where the gold and purple is. That looks pretty nice. And then we have this here. So if we're going to cover those, we probably need to cover this one. We've got multicolor. We have this really simple pink one. We have a grayish color one. I wouldn't mind finding, you know what, let me see if a smaller one will work here so we could see some of the purple behind it. I don't mind that. I think that looks pretty cute actually. And then what if we did some flowers up at the top just to, you know, add, it's a flowering tree, let's say. So let's start by putting, we'll just put a couple of here and there, okay? And we can always move them around if we want to. And then this will be a little bit of a 3D art piece. Super pretty. Yeah, let's do another one here. What do we think of that? Now that has elevated this piece up to just a really great place. That's too much. Do I want to cover some, move this from there to here? Well, that's got some purple too. I do like it there. But you know, I don't think it's a problem to have a little bit of purple there, because now it just seems like it works. If I really wanted to get crazy with it, I could add some of these little white ones here and there. You know, as if they were like just little baby blooms or something. Let's try them on for size and see what we think. We have 3 of those, we have 4 of these, so we probably should have 3 of each, just to keep, because we got 3 down here. If I was going to take one of these away, which one would I want it to be? Okay, let's say it was that one. And this one stayed over here in the purple area. I like that. And then this could scooch down a little bit. Yeah, I mean, wonder what you guys think of that. I think it's pretty cool. And then I'm gonna put 3 more white ones down just to try them on for size. Here and there, see if we like them. And we want to keep them. Oops. Say I did one here. Oops, that one doesn't have a pearl. Let's say we put one here, and then we need one more. I would say we need one at the top, like over here, something like that. Like that. Yeah, that's even fuller, and I kind of like that. So I'm thinking that's a go. And then now I officially feel, gosh, I wish you could see it in person. The camera is definitely not doing it justice. Let me see if I change my lighting, if it helps. Let me turn off my big light, actually. Let me see. I'm not sure if that helps or not. You know, it kind of probably doesn't. It gives you a different view of it. Hold on, let me close my curtain. Let me see if that helps at all. Okay, so that's probably just a little bit more yellow than it actually is, but you can see the definition in it, and I like that. Yeah, I'm gonna glue these down because I think it's gonna be great. And I'm gonna get my light back though so I can work. Okay, I've got my hot glue gun ready, and that's gonna work perfect. I feel good about turning this into a 3D art piece. I think it really brings it home. And so, as you guys may or may not remember, we started out by making paper, and this was my oops piece, and I just wanted to see if I could salvage it. You know, I wanted to see if I could save it. And I feel like absolutely we were able to do that, and that makes me really happy. Okay, now for the other flowers, because they're kind of this weird material, I won't buy them again. They're very plasticky, so just to make sure they don't come up, I'm going to go ahead and use gem tack on those. All right, my friends, we got it. I'm going to give you a close-up of it with these glued on. Oh my goodness, I'm just so happy. So just to go over the steps again real quick about how we accomplished this, was we had originally, when we created the paper, put it down on a stencil. So we got it to like pop up, and then we went over the popped up areas with marker first, and I used mostly metallic markers. And then I felt like I needed to sort of level that up a little bit. So I went in with the gold leaf and silver leaf and bronze leaf in different areas. And then we topped that off with stickles here and there. And then we added the flowers for the 3D effect. I mean, can you even, like, look at that. Like, when you see it up close, it's a whole different situation, right? So let me know if you like it. Let me know if you enjoyed this. I know that it was a long video, but you know, there was a purpose to it, and I'm really thrilled with how this turned out. And then next week is going to be an unboxing of what Tanya sends to me, and then she will unbox what I send to her. So I hope you're following along and enjoying it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.